Okay, the next topic of presentation is angle of pull and its application in physical education and sports. Okay, so before discussing angle of pull, first we should have some basic concept of physics as well as physical laws, how physical laws plays, how they are framing a basic concept for angle of pull, because without having a complete knowledge of all these physical principle, we cannot understand angle of pull. First, I would like to explain briefly about law of motion, because whenever in sports or in physical education you are dealing with motion and you are going to analyze motion, you are trying to make your movement efficient, effective, and how can you make your movement efficient and effective? We can use these principles to make our movement effective and efficient. So first I would like to discuss a brief introduction of law of motion. What is law of motion? Newton has given 3 laws of motion. Law of inertia. What is law of inertia? The body will remain at rest or in constant motion until unless you will not apply any force, changing force over that staying object or object in constant motion. The second law of Newton is saying law of acceleration, कि whenever you will apply any force, it will change the velocity of an object, and thus this law states force is equal to mass into acceleration. And third law, Newton says force is, there will be equal and opposite force, there will be equal and opposite reaction against it. So everywhere I am saying you should apply force. Then let us first discuss what is force. Force says if forces are balanced, if one force and another force, whatever movement we are doing, whatever activity we are doing, we are just balancing the force. External gravity is applying its force over us, and our body, our muscles are producing some internal force to make us balance. So mobility or movement is a resultant of balancing the force. Whenever we are moving, running, walking, jumping, it is just the balancing the internal and external force between body and external environment. So if the forces are balanced, the object will be at rest or it will be at constant motion. Suppose if an object is flowing with a constant speed, it will remain at constant speed until unless you will not apply any changing force over that object. So the object which is at rest, the velocity of that object will be 0 meter per second. Same as if the object is in motion, the velocity will be never, the velocity of that object will never be 0 meter per second. So, but if acceleration is 0, where if the acceleration of resting object will be 0. Clear? If the acceleration of resting object will be 0, for that object which is at rest, it will remain at rest. If the acceleration of any moving object will be 0, the object will move in a constant velocity. But if acceleration is changing, the velocity will be changing. So whenever we will have movement in all sport, in our body we don't have linear movement. Movement is basically two types. One is angular movement and other is linear movement. I can display what is linear movement. Any object which is going in a same line is linear movement. What is angular movement? When you are making an angle. Any movement which is making an angle. Angle mean one plane, horizontal plane with other vertical plane. If any moving object has two plane of motion, is known as angular movement, or any object which is having only one plane of motion is having linear movement. In human body, we are mainly having angular movement. Suppose when you are going to flex your elbow, you can see if this is a line, this is a line of horizontal line, you can see there is an angle is formed. It means it is an angular movement. So every movement in the body, suppose you are going for shoulder abduction, shoulder flexion, wrist flexion, all type of movement are making, all osteokinetic movement are making an angle with a horizontal line, and this type of movement is known as angular movement, and the object which move angularly will displace angularly. It means it is known as angular displacement. The skeletal system of liver that rotate about fixed point when force is applied. Our body is, our joints are working on the principle of lever. It means there is one axis of rotation, one force application point, and one weight application point. So all joints are working, all joints are moving on the principle of lever, and same time all joints are moving in angular displacement position as well as angular movement. Particles near axis have displacement less than farther away. I can show you in the diagram. In the diagram you can see, suppose this is a point. This is a point. If anything at this point, if anything, suppose this is a line, if anything is moving like this in angular direction. If you see, you can see here in the diagram, if anything is moving in angular direction, the particle, this is the center of, this is the center of, this is the where moment takes place, is the center of rotation. When anything is moving, the particles which are, you can see in the diagram also, the particles which are closer to P, like A. In the diagram it is clear, A is closer to P, is having less amount of angular displacement, whereas point C in the diagram is having more amount of angular displacement. So the particles which are near to the axis have less displacement in comparison to those which are farther away from the axis, they have more displacement. Angular displacement is measured in degree. We increase at which degree. So how can we utilize these things? I have told you the particles which are closer to axis has less displacement, but it will have high velocity. But the particles which are farther to the center of rotation are having more displacement but having less velocity. What is angular velocity? I can show you in the diagram. C traveled farther than A and B, and C moved a greater linear velocity than A and B. When you talk about linear velocity, it means C is having more linear velocity. And how can we use these principle in as an analytic tool? First we will discuss what is vector analysis. What is vector and what is scalar? We will discuss in the next chapter what is next vector and the biomechanics. Vectors typically represent a force and depict its magnitude, direction and point of application, because we all are dealing with movement, and for producing movement everything will be in inertia until if we want to apply them, if we want to make them move, we should apply force. So in which direction force should be applied, what should be the magnitude of force, and what should be the point of force? Because by having control over all these direction, magnitude and point of application, we can increase or decrease the performance. So how we can quantify the force? How can we present the force? Vector forces, force is a vector. Force is a vector quantity. Vector mean those things which will have magnitude, direction is known as, and point of application is known as vector force. Most simply represented as arrow. Suppose if I am applying force this side, I will apply arrow. I will show in the diagram, it is clear that the direction of force should be applied by an arrow. Suppose if I am applying force in this side, the arrow will go this side. If I am applying force in this side, the arrow will represent this side. So direction of force can be applied in arrow. Why I am telling this? Because we can draw a force, how much force is applied over a particular point, what is the magnitude of force over a particular point, what is the direction of force. So we can represent the magnitude and direction of force over a specific point by with the help of this type of representation. Second is length is proportional to magnitude. Suppose I am going to apply this amount of force, 5 Newton. So 5 Newton force can be represented by 5 centimeter line. And suppose I am going to differentiate between two forces. How can I represent 5 Newton force and how can I present 10 Newton force? So direction of force can be represented by, suppose one force is, I am applying one force in east, other force also in east. So both will have arrow in east side. But how can we represent the magnitude of force? By drawing a line. Suppose if a force is having 5 Newton, so I can draw 1 Newton equal to 1 centimeter. So I will draw 5 centimeter long arrow. And I want to draw a 10 Newton force and the formula is same, 1 Newton equal to 1 centimeter, I will draw 10 centimeter line with arrow. So we can, by seeing both arrows, smaller arrow and larger arrow, and by putting the number, because 1 Newton was equal to 1 centimeter, so this is the force which is applying 5 Newton force, this is the force which is applying 10 Newton force. So we can represent, we can draw direction of force by help of arrow, we can represent magnitude of force, amount of force in centimeter by drawing line, magnitude of line, and third is direction determined by the point of application considered conceptually. It is measured when we are analyzing any joint, forces over joint, so we can know where the muscle is attached. And where the muscle is attached, because in human body it is the muscle which is producing force, which is applying force over bone. So where the muscle is inserted over bone will be the point of application of force over the muscle. So it is the vector quantity. I have told you what is vector quantity, which have magnitude, which has direction, as well as it has point of application. Clear? So we can represent a force in form of vector by drawing its direction, by drawing its magnitude. Second thing is some quantities are vector and some are scalar, like force. Force is vector, velocity is vector, whereas speed is scalar. When you are talking about speed, we are not getting information in which direction the person is going or object is going. But when we are talking about velocity, because velocity is vector quantity, and in vector quantities the magnitude and direction, both component of force is given. So velocity is a scalar quantity, while your speed is scalar quantity. So what is the difference between scalar as well as vector quantities? In scale, in all those things which has scalar quantities has only magnitude alone. Magnitude means distance traveled, distance of that thing, like speed of 8 km per hour. Speed is represented in 8 km per hour. It means if any object is moving and we are saying it is speed, so we are not saying in which direction the object is going. So speed is a scalar quantity, and in scalar quantity the object has only and only magnitude but not direction. But when you talk about vector quantity, vector has a magnitude as well as direction both, like velocity. Velocity mean when we are talking the velocity of any object, we are knowing the object is going in which direction and object is going at which magnitude. Magnitude means the distance traveled by that. So by seeing these diagram, these arrows, we can differentiate equal if magnitude in A, B, C, D, E and F they have given number of vector forces, because why they are vector forces? All has direction. If we remove the arrow, it becomes scalar. Why? What is the difference between vector and scalar? Vector has magnitude and direction of forces both, whereas scalar has only and magnitude of forces but not the direction of forces. So you can easily differentiate which force is equal, which vectors are equal. D and F both are in same direction as well as in same magnitude. So D and E in the diagram are equal forces. So and we can add as well as distract. We can add as well as distract the vector forces. Here I am giving you an example how we can subtract the forces. In the diagram you can see there are two forces, forces A and B, but you are seeing A force is going in one direction whereas force B is going in opposite direction. Force A is going in one direction, you can see in the diagram, but force B is going in opposite direction, and when we will combine two forces, one is going in east whereas other is going in west, but the magnitude of both forces is equal. Magnitude of both forces are equal. So the resultant force R will be the sum of A and B. A minus B will be equal to R, because both are going, one is going in this direction, and suppose this 5 centimeter line is going in this direction and same 5 is going in this direction. But when you calculate the magnitude of force is 0, and whenever the magnitude of forces will be equal to 0, we will be stabilized. Okay. So all those sports which needs stability, we should try to keep the magnitude of forces 0. So suppose I am standing on ground, gravity is applying some forces over our body and our body is applying some forces against gravity. So the magnitude of one force is applying from ground to upside and one force is applying from body weight to downside, and the magnitude of both forces is 0, that's why we are stabilized. But whenever, if the weight of gravity, suppose if I am bending or unbalanced, if I am unbalanced, so what happened, gravity is applying force over our body, but my body is not able to apply equal amount of force in equal direction, I will fall down. So for stability, the magnitude of both forces should be equal to 0. Same as we can, if you are going to add two forces in same direction, suppose one force is up to this magnitude in this direction, the other force of same magnitude in this, we will add like this. It means one force of 5 Newton, force A is 5 Newton, B is 5 Newton, C is 5 Newton. So the resultant forces will be equal to 15. Clear? So we can add the vector forces, we can subtract the vector forces, as well as we can multiply the vector forces. You can see in the second diagram, force A, force A, force A. There are three forces. When we will add, the resultant R will be the sum of all three A's. Now come to the resolution of vector. What is resolution of vectors? Any vector may be broken down into component vector in a coordinate system. How can we calculate the forces over joint? Without resolution of vector, we cannot calculate the force, because at one joint there are number of forces are acting over one joint. Some forces are produced by agonists, some are by fixator, some by gravity, some by body weight. So during any movement, one joint is subjected by many forces. Clear? Suppose when you are going to flexion, gravity is applying some force over joint reaction force. There is some force between the two joints. Joint reaction force is applying over that joint, muscle torque is applying over that joint, body weight is applying some force over joint. So at one joint, many forces are acting over that joint in different direction. So how can we calculate these forces over that joint? By summing, by adding all forces over those joints, and then we can decide whether joint will be stabilized or joint will be mobilized. Suppose when you are going to move your arm towards your side, the force produced by your biceps should be more than the other forces which are resisting, like gravity, body weight. The weight of the force produced by your muscle should be more than the other forces. So the sum of these vector forces should be positive in internal force. Internal force should be more than external force. So how can we resolute force? By putting the force vector in a coordinate system. We know there are two vector component as well as three vector component. What is two vector component? When you are drawing the force in at x and y, this is x axis and y axis, one plane, other plane. This is two coordinate system. As well as there are three coordinate system, x axis, y axis as well as z axis. You can see like this. One, this is a x axis, y axis and z axis, and all three axes are perpendicular. But when we are talking about body motion, when we are trying to draw the forces acting over R joint, we should go through two coordinate analysis, that is only x and y axis. We will resolute the vector forces in two coordinate system, that is mainly x and y. But when we will draw forces in 3D spaces, that is x, y and this is z, x axis, y axis and z axis. Suppose if I am going to ball, clear? So when I am going for bowling, one forces is going in vertical direction, same time one force is applying in horizontal. It means two-dimensional analysis of forces. Shoulder joint is applying forces in two direction, one in vertical direction and the same time in horizontal direction. Clear? So how we can resolute these forces? You can see in the diagram, the ball is in hand, we can draw a straight line from the ball, center of rotation of ball, as well as we can draw a horizontal line with the parallel axis of bone of forearm, and we will resolute. One is horizontal axis, one is vertical axis, and we will unite both axes, and this will be known as resultant force. You can see in the diagram what is the vertical velocity. Vertical velocity is A. What is the horizontal velocity? Horizontal velocity is B. And when we will combine A and B, it will be resulted in R. So R will be the resultant force of this component, because when we are going for any angular velocity, angular movement has two components, because when you are going for angle is having linear component as well as horizontal component. Horizontal component, and any angular movement has two components, vertical component and horizontal component. So for all type of movement, when we are going to analyze forces in a particular movement, we should analyze these forces in two planes. One is vertical plane and other is horizontal plane, and the resultant force will be equal to both A and B. How we can locate the vectors in space? What is the procedure to locate the vector in space for 2D coordinate system? For 2D planar analysis, first we will draw a horizontal line, that is known as x-axis. Then we will draw a y-axis, and by having x and y-axis, by giving number to x and y-axis, we can draw a line of force, and we can calculate the force in terms of magnitude as well as direction. And how can we calculate vectors from vector to movement? How can we correlate vector from movement? Vectors represent muscle force. What is vector? When I am drawing, I can show you in the diagram. When a bowler is bowling, one force, we will draw one force in horizontal, one force in vertical, and when we will match, the force is the resultant force. So any angular movement has both components, so we will draw that force, we will represent that force in both direction, and whatever vector resultant will come, it is the result of muscle force. Muscle force act on body lever system and create torque, because we all know muscle, whenever muscle is contracting, it is going to create torque over bone, and because of creating torque over bone, it will produce movements. Torque is an angular force and result in angular movement. Torque, what is torque? Muscle is acting at a specific angle. Whenever you are going for movement, muscle is changing angle at every range. When you are bringing your arm from here to here, at every angle muscle is pulling your bone from different angle. So torque is an angular force and result in angular movement, because torque is not a linear force. Torque is not, your muscle is not pulling like this. Muscle is always applying force over the angle. So it will produce angular torque and result in angular movement of the bone. Human movement is the sum of torque acting at all joints. How a person is able to move his joint? I have told you, at one joint, apart from muscle, there are some other forces are also working, like joint reaction force, gravity force, ground reaction force, body weight force. So all forces are working over joint, and the movement is the resultant of all these forces. When you will be able to move your part consecutively, when the muscle force is strong, muscle force produced by muscle is larger than the other forces. When your arm will go eccentrically, when your muscle will contract eccentrically, when your external forces, body weight, gravity is more than the force produced by your muscle, it means the pattern of movement will be determined by the different forces acting over the joint. For example, for a weight lifter to lift a 250 Newton barbell, lifter must apply force greater than 250 Newton. Suppose if I am going to lift something, so my force should generate angular momentum more than the weight of that barbell. If my muscle is not able to produce that required amount of 250 Newton of force, more than 250 Newton, I cannot lift. Clear? So to perform any movement effectively in your direction in flexion posture, your muscle should generate the force which should be more in magnitude in comparison to other forces which are inhibiting the movement. Now come to, we have discussed what is scalar, what is magnitude, what is direction, what is vector quantity. Now the third point is point of application of forces. What is point of application of forces? Point at which force is applied to an object. Where gravity is concerned, this is point always through the center of gravity. It means during movement there are two forces are applied. One is external force and other is internal force. What is external force? External force is applied by body weight as well as gravity. What is internal force? Internal force is applied by your muscle torque. Clear? So where gravity is working, when we are normal in standing posture, we are thinking, it is considered the normal center of gravity is acting just anterior to S2. It is the external force. Clear? So gravity is, body weight is concentrated near S2. And where is the point of application by internal force? Where your muscles. Clear? So there are two forces, external force and internal force. External force, when you are talking about body movement, it is center of gravity in body, or center of gravity of the part which you are going to move. Clear? Suppose if you are going to move your arm, center of gravity is located somewhere here. Same as in thigh, center of gravity located somewhere here. So then this is the external force. Center of gravity is external force applied over body with the effect of gravity. So body muscle should generate more if you want to move your body part against gravity, you should apply more force than the center of gravity, force produced by center of gravity. Then you will be able to move that part, move that organ, move that limb against gravity. If your muscle will not be able to generate more torque than the center of gravity, you cannot move that part against gravity. So point of application of external force is center of gravity, and point of application of internal force is attachment of muscle over bone. Where muscle is going to attach over bone, that is the point of application of internal force. So we have two concepts: external force, where is its point of application? Near center of gravity of any full body. If you are talking about full body, it is S2, anterior S2. If you are talking different segment of body, it is located somewhere in that segment and the whole body weight is working there. So that will be the point of application of external load. And what is internal load? The movement you are doing, the specific movement you are doing, the specific muscle you are using to perform that movement, and where that muscle is inserted is known as point of application of internal load. Technically, it is the point of insertion of line of force and mechanical axis of bone. Next is direction, because we are talking about forces, and forces vector quantity. We have discussed about magnitude, we have discussed about point of application. Now let us discuss something about direction of force. Direction of force in body is along its action line. Direction of muscle force vector in the direction of muscular force, vector in the direction of line of pull of the muscle. So for example, suppose if you are going to abduct your shoulder, clear? The shoulder abduction is maintained by deltoid muscle, and deltoid has three fibers: anterior fiber, posterior fiber and middle fiber. So what is the direction of movement? Direction of movement will be always in the middle portion of muscle. Suppose this is deltoid muscle, it is anteriorly placed, posteriorly placed and medially placed. So whenever muscle will exert a pull over bone, so the direction of movement will be in between the muscle. Clear? This side muscle is from here, here and here. Muscle is deltoid. I am giving you example. Muscle is anteriorly, posteriorly and medially. When you will try to apply force, application of force by deltoid, the arm will go in abduction, because abduction is mid movement. So direction of muscular force vector is in direction of line of pull of muscle. Direction of gravity is vertically downward, and where the muscle direction will be always in the midline of muscle. The direction of force of muscle will be always in midline of muscle. That I have given you example of deltoid, neither anteriorly not posteriorly, only in the midline. But where is the direction of external load? That is gravity. Gravity will be when you are drawing a force for gravity, it will be perpendicular vertical distance from the point. Suppose if this is the center of gravity, this is the center of gravity, so the direction of center of gravity will be directly vertical to the center of gravity. So I have told you two things: muscular force will be always in the direction of line of pull, whereas the direction of external force, that is gravity, will be always in vertically downward of the center of gravity. If you are standing erect, the direction of gravity will be straight downward from the center of gravity. Now come to angle of pull. By having all these things, smaller, scalar, vector, magnitude, direction, how we can draw forces, how can we solve forces. Now we are going to explain angle of pull. What is angle of pull and what is its importance in physical education and sports? Muscle angle of pull, the angle formed between the line of pull of muscle and the longitudinal axis of bone in which the muscle is acting. Clear? I have told you muscle is pulling bone at different, whenever muscle is pulling, it is pulling the bone at different angles, and which angle is most effective for maximal pulling, for generating maximum torque, we will discuss here. You can see in the diagram, there are three diagrams. In diagram 1, the biceps is pulling the forearm at 30 degree of flexion, 30 degree angle. In the second diagram, the biceps is pulling the forearm at 90 degree angle. In the third diagram, the biceps is pulling the muscle at 120-degree angle. How can we differentiate ki at which angle the muscle is pulling and which angle is better for maximum generation of forces by muscle? In the first diagram, you can see the angle form. How we can draw? How we can know ki at which angle muscle is pulling the bone? We can calculate, we can draw it with the help of knowledge of these vector forces, and how can we resolve the forces. So by having a vector property of forces, and by having knowledge of resolution of forces, we can calculate ki how muscle is applying force over bone and at which angle muscle is applying force over bone. How we can draw? Force may be resolved into vertical and horizontal component. We can draw two lines, two coordinate system, one in horizontal plane and other is vertical plane, and by putting that force in between horizontal and vector plane, we can know ki at which angle muscle is applying force over bone at which angle. Suppose this is a horizontal plane and this is a vertical plane, and we can put the vector quantity of pulling force in between, and we can measure the angle at which angle muscle is pulling the bone. Size of each depends on angle of pull. There are two magnitude, one is horizontal component and other is vertical component. You can see in the diagram, I can demonstrate you in the diagram, one line I have shown by putting a straight line from point of insertion toward the middle muscle belly of the bicep. The second line I have drawn from medial axis of shaft of forearm bone. Clear? So where these two lines are meeting, one line from the mid line of muscle, other line I am drawing from the mid line of bone of forearm, and you can see here the angle formed between both two lines is 30. And I can show you second diagram. I have drawn one force along the middle axis of biceps, and I have drawn second line along the middle axis of forearm bone, and where both lines are intersecting, the angle whatever angle is formed is known as line of angle of pull. It is 90. In third diagram, you can see here I have did same thing, but the angle formed between two lines is around 120. So by this method, we can be able to know at which angle muscle is applying force over bone. As you can see in the diagram, the size of two lines is decreases when angle is decreased. When the angle is 90, the size of two lines are increased. Third thing is, a muscle angle of pull changes with every degree of joint motion. You can see the angle of pull changes with every, when the arm was like this, angle was different. When arm is like in this position, angle was different. When arm is in this position, angle is different. So with every range of motion, this is range of motion, the angle of pull of muscle is changing. So the horizontal and vertical component, and both are changing. Clear? This is the component and you are drawing force in between. So when muscle will change the angle, horizontal component of forces as well as vertical component of forces. You can see in the diagram, when your muscle is coming towards one, this is one and second is x-axis, y-axis. When muscle is coming up, forces are coming closer to y-axis. When angle is going down, muscle is coming towards x-axis. So with every angular movement, horizontal and vertical components of coordinate system is changing. The larger the angle 0 to 90, the greater the vertical and less the horizontal component. Clear? The larger the angle, the greater the vertical component and less the horizontal component. If your force is going like this, clear? If you suppose this, Any movement in the body is always angular. If your force is like going like this, in this force you can see the vertical component is more but angular component less. But larger the angle, as you increase the angle, the angular component will increases, but it will cause decreasing the horizontal component. Vice versa. See, this is a 90 angle. When you decrease the angle, the linear horizontal component, the forces is going towards horizontal side. When you are increasing the angle, the forces are going towards horizontal side. So they are saying the larger the angle, the greater the vertical and less the horizontal. Angle is when you are increasing the angle to the 90. At 90, the forces are more and more vertical. But when again when you are going to increase the angle, again force is coming toward the horizontal line. I can show you in the diagram. If you draw an x-axis and y-axis and you are drawing a force in between x and y-axis, you can see in the diagram when x forces is going increasing, when you are applying any force at larger angle, the forces is going away from horizontal line and closer to vertical line. When you are applying any force at less angle, the forces are closer to horizontal axis and farther to vertical axis. Vertical component is perpendicular to lever and is called rotatory component. Clear? Vertical component. Suppose this is a lever. Vertical component, vertical axis, long axis is always perpendicular to lever and also known as moment of force. If you are applying any force from here over lever, you can apply maximum force. Clear? But if you apply any force in this direction, you cannot apply. So vertical component is perpendicular to lever. Y-axis is always perpendicular to lever and it is also known as rotatory component. I have told you when you are increasing the angle of forces, it will go towards vertical side. So it is also known as angular. In angular moment, vertical component is more than horizontal component. Horizontal component is parallel to the lever. Horizontal component means lever, it is always, if you are applying any horizontal force, suppose this is the lever, it will be always parallel to the lever, but vertical component is always perpendicular to lever. So this will apply force over lever, this will apply force over lever, but this cannot apply enough force over lever, it can produce only friction. So whenever you will apply any force by muscle over joint in terms of linear force, it will cause only and only friction. But if you apply any force perpendicular to lever, it will produce movement of that lever bar. Most resting muscle have an angle of pull less than 90. I have told you for maximum rotatory movement in our body, all movement are rotatory, and if you want to produce rotatory movement, it should have more angular movement. It should have approximately 90. If you are doing any movement less than 90, muscle cannot generate maximum force. Clear? For producing maximal torque by muscle, you should apply force, you should apply angle of pull by that muscle should be at 90. Suppose at 90 you can apply maximum force. When you are applying any force of bicep at here, you cannot apply more force because in this direction muscle is parallel to the bone. You can see in the diagram example, suppose if I am trying to drag something towards my side in this position, I cannot apply more force because in this direction the biceps muscle fibers are parallel to the lever, that is the elbow joint as well as forearm bone. Ultimate purpose of biceps is moving forearm bone. When you are trying to move your elbow, you are trying to flex your elbow in this position and you are applying any force, you cannot apply maximum force because in this force your line of action, line of pulling is parallel to the lever. But when you are pulling something from here, it means it is approximately perpendicular to line of force, so you can apply maximum force. In sports, we need efficient performance of movement. What is efficient performance movement? By efficiently using the muscle, joint, range, lever system, motion principle, as well as application of forces over bone effectively, we can perform best. Okay. What is efficiency? By by giving less input, we should get maximum output. So by using all these things, angle of pull, at which angle we should pull the muscle, at which angle we should try to generate torque by the muscle, at which type of lever we should use to generate forces, etc., and which type of, how we can use principle of law of motion in the performance. By using all these things, we can perform efficiently. So angle of pull is one of component. Whenever you will apply any forces perpendicular to the lever, it will exert maximum torque. It will exert angular torque. When you will apply any force linear to the lever, it cannot apply maximum pull over that lever system. So I can try to explain the same thing with the help of other. Only angle of pull, apart from angle of pull, there are some other factors which can play an important role in efficiently performing the movement. For example, patella. As you see, you can see in the diagram, patella. Patella is a sigmoid bone which acts as a pulley over knee joint extension. What is the role of patella? How patella is giving us advantage? When you are having patella and your quadriceps tendon is just crossing over, suppose there is knee joint and over knee joint there is patella, and your knee extensors, quads tendons are going over patella to insert over tibial tubercle. So how patella is going to give you mechanical advantage? How patella is going to help you in performing movement efficiently? Because patella is acting as a pulley. And what is the function of pulley? Pulley can change the direction of pull. It is the patella which can facilitate the extensors of knee, quadriceps muscle to apply a rotatory or angular force, angular torque over the tibia. If you remove the patella will not be, the quadriceps tendon will not be able to apply angular torque over tibia, and you cannot extend your knee. So this is the function of patella. You can see in the diagram, both diagram, if you see the diagram number 1, there is patella, and in knee which is having patella, the movement arm from distance, perpendicular distance from the axis of rotation to application of force is larger in comparison to second diagram, where the movement arm of the quadriceps tendon is shorter. So we all know by lever principle, when your movement arm or effort arm is longer than the weight arm, you can apply more force, you can generate more force with less effort. But when your lever arm is shorter than weight arm, even after applying maximum force by muscle, you cannot get maximum resultant force because of shortening of movement arm. So patella is helping us by two methods, by two ways. First is by increasing the movement arm. Patella is giving you a mechanical advantage. It is facilitating the quads tendon to generate maximum torque over the tibial bone, so it can drag tibia towards its side, towards opposite side, and you can be erect during any event, during any sport, and you can perform better. Second thing, suppose you are going for run. During running, you are going for flexion and extension of knee, and as fastly you are producing flexion and extension of knee, the faster you run. Clear? Same as you are going for jumping, or you are going for bowling. When you bowl for high jump, suppose you are a fast bowler, the highest amount, the magnitude of jump you will take, the faster ball you can bowl. So these muscle can help in all sports by producing its function for its torque properly. Even in weightlifting, when you are generating more force by muscle, you can lift more weight. So patella here, patella is going to help you in two manners to help the quadriceps muscle in two manners. First is by changing the direction of pull. It can facilitate the quadriceps to produce angular movement, vertical movement. So it can drag tibia towards the side and causes extension of knee. Second thing, it can change the direction of pull. So it can reduce the third thing, it can reduce the friction also. So I have told you there are two component of motion, linear component and rotatory component. In human body, most of the motion are mainly rotatory. Even if you are talking about movement, or if you are talking about the movement as well as angle of pull. If you pull any bone by muscle at angular level, at vertical level, it will exert maximum torque and causes movement of bone. If you apply any linear or non-angular movement, non-angular torque by muscle over that joint, it will cause stabilization of joint only or friction of joint. I am trying to explain all three, how your angle is going to affect the force production of by muscle. I can explain you with the help of these examples. Example 1, so if you imagine the angle of pull by muscle is less than 90 degree. What happened? What happened if the angle of pull by that muscle over a particular bone is less than 90 degree? What happened? As you can see in the diagram, as the angle of pull gets smaller, the moment arm decreases. You can see in the diagram, this is the diagram of forearm. In forearm, it is humerus and radius and ulna, and this is your muscle, biceps muscle is inserted over the radial tuberosity of radius. When your muscle is going to exert a force, that means point of application of force, we will draw a line, magnitude of force in between the biceps muscle and other line perpendicular to this long axis of radius. And when we see the angle is formed around 30 degree. When we analyze this force in two coordinate system, one x-axis and other y-axis, 30 degree motion is just near to linear side, horizontal axis, not closer to vertical axis. The forces which are closer to horizontal axis, they are mainly linear forces. So what happen when you will try to pull the elbow by 30 degree of angle of pull, what will happen? It will exert a non-rotatory force is directed towards fulcrum, because your angle is closer to x-axis. You can see here, when your angle of pull is only 30 degree, this is the two coordinate system, and angle of pull is only 30 degree. When your angle of pull is 30 degree, the line of pull is closer to x-axis and farther to, if you see this is 90 degree, so the distance between y and force is 60 degree around, and the angle between x and force between 30 degree. So this angle of pull is closer to x-axis, mean linear axis. So linear axis, when the force is closer to linear axis or horizontal axis, the forces will be closer to directed towards fulcrum. So when the forces are less than 90, because of direction of force towards your horizontal axis, the force will be applied in the direction of fulcrum. So if any force is coming towards the joint, if any force is directed towards the joint, so what it will cause? What it will produce? It will produce the compression of joint. Any force which is directed towards joint, it will cause contraction of joint. So all forces which is having less than 90 degree or linear forces, the main purpose of those forces are stabilization of joint. So in any movement, when you are performing any movement, there are some muscle which plays their role as an stabilizer, and stabilizer are applying force over lower lever in less than 45 degree of angle of pull. So these type of angle of pull, when you are applying angle of pull by muscle in less than 30 degree, they will help only in maintaining integrity of joint. They will try to stabilize the joint, and second, almost all of the force generated is directed back to the joint, pulling the bone together. So they will produce two effects. First is stabilization of joint, and second thing, trying to compress the both component joint. So any force, any angle of pull which is applied over bony liver, over joint in less than 90 degree angle of pull, because of closeness to the x-axis, they will have only two effects. First, it will have a stabilizing effect. It will try to stabilize the joint. Second, it will try to bring both bones of joint closer. It means it will have compressive effect over joint. Second, I am going to give you the second example. I am going to give you rotatory versus non-rotatory component. Suppose, for example, if you take angle of pull is 90, what happen if the angle of pull by muscle over bone is 90 degree? What happened there? We will discuss here. Force is all rotatory, because x-axis and angle of pull is like this, always in perpendicular direction, because we all know that when we apply force near to x-axis, it will be horizontal force, linear force. But when we apply any force which is parallel to y-axis or perpendicular to x-axis, it will be vertical force or angular force or rotatory force. What happens when we apply rotatory force over a bony lever? Because of applying vertical force, rotatory force, the moment arm is at its greatest length, because the length between joint axis and application of force is greater. As you can see in the diagram, first diagram I have shown you, you can see the line drawn between the midline of biceps. As you can see the other diagram line, but if you see the rotation, axis of rotation, what is axis of rotation? It is the point somewhere in between the joint. So you can see in all three, first diagram I have shown you in the first slide, all three diagram, the joint line is farthest in 90 degree. When the angle of pull is 90 degree, the joint line is farthest. The joint center of rotation is farther at the point of application. I can show you in the diagram. When you are drawing a line, you are connecting a line from center of rotation to angle of, when you are drawing a horizontal line from center of rotation to angle of pull, in 90 degree angle of pull, the line length is maximum, whereas the length is shortened in 120 degree. Why the length is shortened? Because the joint is closer. Because of stabilizing effect, the joint is closer. Same as here, when the degree is less than 30, the joint is closer. The distance between point of application and center of rotation is less. So maximum moment arm is in 90 degree. So because of greatest movement arm, it can have mechanical advantage, and even with the same amount of muscle fiber, it can exert maximum pull over the muscle. Clear? I have discussed you two things. I have discussed what happens when the angle of pull is more than 90, it will produce stabilizing effect. And when the angle of pull is 45, what happens when the angle of pull is 45? It will have both rotatory as well as non-rotatory component, because this is x-axis and y-axis, and the force is going at 45. It means the force is at equal distance, at equal angle of both coordinate, x coordinate and y coordinate. and when both the forces is equal the force is equal to both coordinate, what happened? It muscle force functions as a movement as well as stabilization, because it is having equal angle with x as well as y. So this muscle will work as a production of movement as well as stabilization. This is mainly fixator. Fixator are fixator are producing movement over bone as well as they are stabilizing the joint. So I would like to summarize the angle of pull. From all three examples, we have seen when muscle is applying angle of pull at less than 45 degree or less than 90 degree, what is happening? Muscle is applying force just linear to the joint axis, linear to the lever axis of lever. So the role of that muscle is only stabilizing role, and it is producing compressive forces over joint. And when muscle is applying angle of pull at 90 degree, that is rotatory angle, there are two advantages. When muscle is applying angle of pull at 90 degree, first thing, by applying pull at 90 degree, the moment arm of muscle is larger in comparison to other degrees, as well as the moment of force is rotatory. So it can produce maximum force generation, so muscle can act as a prime mover. But when muscle is applying angle of pull at 45 degree, it means it is equal angle from horizontal plane as well as vertical plane. So the muscle will work as both stabilizing as well as producing movement. So now we will discuss on the basis of this. I will discuss component of force. There are three component of force: rotatory component of force, stabilizing component force, and dislocating component of force. There are three component of force. When muscle is acting over lever, over bone, it has three component of forces. It can apply three component. First is rotatory component, second is stabilizing component, and third is dislocating component. When muscle can apply most or rotatory component force of muscle, rotatory component force of muscle. What is the role of rotatory component of force of muscle? Rotatory component of force of muscle contributing to bone's movement around the joint axis greatest when muscle angle of pull is perpendicular to bone. Okay, when you will apply rotatory type of muscle pull, it will cause movement, and when it can produce maximum force when angle of pull will be 90 degree. And second one is stabilizing component. What is stabilizing component? Degree of parallel force generated on the lever when muscle angle of pull is less than 90. When you apply angle of pull less than 90, the muscle will work as a stabilizing muscle. It will try to bring both component of joint closer, as well as it will try to stabilize the joint. And third one is dislocating component. What is dislocating component? Degree of parallel forces generated on lever when muscle angle of pull is greater than 120 degrees. Suppose when you are applying more than 90 degree, so muscle will try to dislocate the joint. So it is clear, when angle of pull is less than 90, it will try to stabilize the joint. When angle of pull will be 90, it will try to produce movement in concentric direction, and when angle of pull of muscle is more than 90, it will try to dislocate the joint. So this is the advantage of angle of pull, and by knowing the different angle of pull, and we know the effect of angle of pull, at which angle what will be the effect of muscle, so we can utilize this principle of angle of pull in treatment, analysis, as well as training of our physical educator, student, as well as trainer. Thank you.